Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're making some simple but absolutely delicious skillet cornbread. It's golden, moist, and just the right amount of sweetness. Whether you're camping, cooking at home, or cooking in a Dutch oven, this recipe is practically foolproof, so stick around and we'll get started. First off, I'm going to take our skillet, which has been heating up in our pellet grill, and to it I'm going to add a whole stick of butter. I'm going to get that melted real quick and get to mixing our ingredients. We have a cup of self-rising flour, a cup of fairly fine ground cornmeal. You can use the coarser stuff, but I kind of like mine not quite as gritty, a little finer texture. And to that I'll add a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to give this a good stir, get all the dry ingredients incorporated. To that I'll add the wet ingredients, which includes a cup and a half of room temperature buttermilk. Now as you let your carton of buttermilk warm up, make sure you give it a good shake because it'll start to separate a little bit, so you want to make sure all your fat is still incorporated. To that I'll add 2 eggs that I've whisked before I put them in here, the batter, and 3 tablespoons of honey. You can substitute sugar for this, but you want to use just a little less because honey's sweeter than sugar. Now I'll give this a good mixing real quick. Now I'll get the skillet out of the grill, and we're going to pour most of that butter back into this batter. But we want to leave some in the skillet. What it's going to do is fry a little bit. It's going to give us that nice crust that we're looking for, golden brown on the bottom. It just adds a lot of texture and a little bit more flavor to this cornbread. Now back in the skillet it goes. We'll leave it in the pellet grill or in your oven at home, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. So stick around and we'll see how she turns out. Got the cornbread out of the oven and it's looking pretty good. We want to let it cool off just a little bit because it's pretty crumbly, generally speaking of cornbread, when it's hot. And so if we let it cool, it'll hold together in a nice slice. Don't want to let it sit in the cast iron too long because it's moist and it will draw moisture to it. It'll sweat, and that could harm your cast iron. So we'll get it out of the cast iron fairly quickly. Cornbread is something that I've been enjoying for a long time. My mother used to make a pot of pinto beans, and with it she'd always make cornbread. So that's probably why I like pinto beans so much, because I associate it with her cornbread, which was always delicious. And what's even better is if there was any left over for the next day, I'd heat it up, put a little butter and honey on it, and that was my breakfast. Cornbread goes great with fried chicken, with barbecue chicken, pulled pork, meatloaf, beef stew. The list goes on. It's just a great side dish, if you want to call it a side dish. Sometimes I call it the main course. But it's just something that ought to be in your recipe book, especially this easy recipe with that self-rising flour. There's just not much to it. You saw how long it took me to get it put together and into the oven. No time at all. And I didn't even have to dirty too many bowls. So, stick around and we'll see how she tastes. Well, here we are, gang. You'll have to forgive my fine china. Let's give this thing a taste. Wow, that is really good. The honey we put in, you can barely taste any sweetness, so you still get the savoriness of the corn. So this would go really good with dinner. Now, if I want to have it for breakfast, I'm going to put some honey on top of it. You just can't beat that. Thanks for sticking around. Remember to like, comment, and share. Try this out. Super easy recipe. It's fast. And let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.